because on this bucket, we have configured public access equal to, public access is basically blocked. In the sense, public access is blocked. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take you to the another side of the service, that is CloudFront, which is actually doing a major work. That is, this is the service which is actually, acting as a kind of a mediator who is actually, pulls out the content from the S3 bucket and gives it to the user who is actually requesting it with, with providing the required authorization credentials. Okay. And that is what the CloudFront is doing here. So for this demo purpose, I have created a CloudFront distribution. So this is the CloudFront distribution which I created. To create the CloudFront distribution, you need to click on the create distribution first. Here you're going to choose the origin domain, that is the S3 bucket domain. Just click on this one. You're going to see this Amazon S3, and this is your S3 bucket domain will be generated here, and that you need to select it, and the rest all automatically it will pop up. For now, you can just click on the public. Since this is the first time, you're gonna public in the sense, origin access, in the sense the person who is accessing this CloudFront endpoint, how and who can access it. That is where configuration tells all about. If you are choosing public access, in the sense bucket must allow the public access and everybody can access the content present in that S3 bucket. That's what this configuration does. But basically our aim was not to that. In this demo, we are going for a very secure one. So that's the reason we're going to choose origin access control setting, which is a recommended from the CloudFront as well. Bucket can restrict the access only to a CloudFront, in the sense who can access the content of this S3 bucket. That is, only CloudFront service can access it. That's what the configuration we do. That is a origin access control setting. That is specially to the CloudFront only. Okay. Once you select that, you need to create a control setting here. So if you see here, origin access control, select the existing origin access control. This is the important configuration. You should not miss it. Click on this one. Just give the name, which is, by default it will pop up like this. Okay. And then here in the signing behavior, select the sign in request recommended, and origin type is S3 service. Okay. Just click on this one and click on the create. I have already created. I'm going to show you that. So this is the content is already being created, and we're going to select the origin access control for it. And later to that, by default it will tell you the bucket policy, in the sense after creating the CloudFront content distributor, I'm going to pop up you S3 bucket policy, and that policy need to be added on the S3 bucket. That's what it tells. CloudFront will provide you with a policy statement after creating the distribution. Okay, so once the distribution is ready, you're going to copy that and put it on the S3 bucket. I'm going to show you how did I do it on the S3 bucket. Okay, so before I show you that particular the configuration on the S3 bucket, so let me complete this. Okay, all right, so I will go down. So the enable the original shield. Okay, so that should be no. And then in the default cache behavior options, you have to choose the compress object automatically equal to yes, and then viewer control protocol policy. So just say redirect from HTTP to HTTPS, and then allow the HTTP method is equal to get, and the restrict viewer access. So here this is very, very important configuration, which is actually meant for our secure access. Okay, so you restrict the viewer access, or viewer must use the CloudFront signed URL or signed cookies to access the URL content. Okay, that's what it means. If you say no, in the sense anybody can access it. If you say yes, in the sense you are restricting the access to the particular content. Okay, the content hosted in S3 bucket, access is restricted to a particular person who has the signed URL or who has a signed cookies. That person can only access. That's what this configuration means. Underneath that, we're going to configure the trusted group keys. Okay, so here we need to create a key groups. Before you go to the key groups, I'm going to just walk you through this one and how did I created a key and key groups, which is I'm using here. So for now, just assume that key group is created. After I walk you through this configuration, I'm going to show you how you can create a public key and key group from the CloudFront key management options. Okay, all right, so we're going to select the add key groups here, and then cache key origin request. Okay, here we're going to keep the configurations default as it is, and then in the settings also we're going to keep everything as it is. Click on a create distribution. Okay, so with this note, you have successfully configured a working distribution, that is CloudFront distribution, something like this. Yeah, all right, so if I open this one, I'm going to go back to the configurations again and show you Now this is the distribution domain name which gets created automatically once you create a distribution. Okay, so if I go back again, click on this distribution ID. In the general options, in the details, this is the distribution domain name. Okay, so this is becomes your root domain name of your URL. Yeah, and in the origin, so in the origin, see the origin. Okay, so origin in the sense from which the content is getting origin. Okay, that is here is the origin name is our S3 bucket. Yeah, so you can see that by clicking this one, click on edit. You go here, you go right. That is our domain name is our S3 bucket. And here I'm setting the particular origin access control settings. In the sense, I'm just saying that only CloudFront can access that. Okay, all this configuration that we did while creating the CloudFront distribution. Okay, all right. So with that, that is the how the origin configurations are being configured in this distribution. Let's go to the behavior and see it again. So behavior is the place where actually how do you control the access. Okay, this is the place where actually tells who can access, how can access. Okay, so click on this edit. And here you're gonna see, so this in the settings, you're gonna see the pattern that is all everybody. And in the compress, it is yes. Okay, so in the viewers, you see, redirect to HTTPS. Restrict viewer access is the option which is actually doing lots many things. Okay, which is actually controlling the access a lot. Yeah, that is if you click on S, in the sense you are restricting the access to a particular viewers who are trusted basically. In the trusted, we are trusting them via a key groups, and the key groups is actually hosting the public keys. Okay, which I'm going to show you right after this one. All right, so we have selected a key groups, and then that's all. So basically this is how the configuration you're going to see at the distributions. Okay, that is error page, geographic restrictions, individual invalidations, tags, everything is our default configurations. So with that, our distribution is enabled, status equal to enabled, it's working fine. Now we're going to see and go to the key management option. So you see there is a key management option in the CloudFront options. Go to the public key. So this is a place you're gonna create a public key which is used in a key groups, and the key groups is used in a distribution configuration which we just now saw. Okay, to create a public keys underneath the key management, we need to have a public key. So you just give us some test here, and here you need to put a public keys. Okay, so let me show you before I walk you through this key management of CloudFront. I'm going to show you how we can create a public keys, how we can create a private key and public key out of the private keys. For that case, I have already have two commands, that is shell commands with using the OpenSSL packages. That is with using this OpenSSL package, you're going to create this private key. Just copy this private key, go to the place where you want to run that particular shell command, click on this one. Since this is my Windows system, I'm going to go to the show more options, click on a git bash here, and just paste that particular, okay, and hit the enter. You're gonna, once you hit the enter, you're gonna see that the private .pem file, private key.pem file will be created, and which contains the content something like this. Yeah, all right. And once the private key is created, you're gonna create a public key out of it. So to do that, again, you're gonna follow the same option, that is git bash here. But this time, we're gonna run the another command, that is OpenSSL RSL, where this time input becomes private_key.pmf file. Yeah, all right. So in that one, we're gonna go here and just click on the paste here, right? So by running this command, you're gonna generate a public key out of the private key, which is something like this. If I can open this one, this is your public key. Okay, so now with using this public key, we're gonna create a record in a public key configurations of the CloudFront key management options. Okay, under key management options, we were here. Let me go back again. Don't get confused. I just showed you how we created the public keys, private keys, which is required for these configurations. Okay, now in the public key management, we're going to click on a create public key, just say test, and the content of this key will be from here. Just do a Control A, copy all, and then paste it here and click on a public key. Okay, once you click on a public key, a public will be generated something like this. Once the public key is generated, then you need to create a group of public keys. Okay, so here, why did the group, in the sense, for example, say there are like n number of users. Okay, and they each n number of users, they're going to generate their own private key and public keys. Those public key and private keys can be grouped here. Okay, so not only one key I have to create, I can create a multiple keys public keys, and that can be listed here, and those keys can be grouped here, and this group will be used to configure in a CloudFront configurations. Okay. All right. So yeah. So here we create a key groups. Okay. So to create a key groups, what you're gonna do is we just click on a create key groups, give the name like again test something, and here you're gonna choose the multiple public keys that is listed in yours. Okay. Choose from 1 to 5 public keys to add in a key groups. In the sense, a group can contain a up to 5. In the sense, 5 users can be accessible. In the sense, we can make a 5. We can create a key groups of 5 members. Okay, something like that. So here we choose this one and click on a key groups. Once you have done that, the key group will be generated, and the name of the key group is Cloud Quick Labs, which we have used in a distributions. If I go back to this one, go to the behavior, click on this one, click on edit, and if you go down, so there is add key groups. That is the key group which we have added. Yeah, so you can add a multiple key groups as well here in the distributions. Okay. All right, so this is how I did a setup of my this solution. That is the solution how to securely deliver the web content with using the S3 bucket and Amazon CloudFront. Okay. All right, so what we do is now it's time to access it. Okay, so I'm going to show you, like, just copy this URL, put it in a browser, and after that / we're going to add our content, that is doc.jpg file. If I hit it, it is saying that currently you are missing something which is required to access this one. That is a key value pairs. That is key value pairs need to be added in a cookies. Okay, so to do that or to generate the cookies dynamically, I have created a script, that is a Python script. This script has been created with using multiple module, that is Python module imports, that is function tools, request, RSA, datetime, and we are also using a Boto core module, that is AWS SDK, that is meant for CloudFront. Okay, and after that we are declaring certain variables, that is CloudFront resource. That CloudFront resource is nothing but CloudFront domain URL. So if I go to the CloudFront, so in the CloudFront, this is the domain URL which has been added here, and then the public key ID. So if you go to the CloudFront and go to the public key management, in the key management go to the public key, and this is the key ID which we copy pasted here. Similarly, CloudFront private key. So this is the private key which will be given to the user. Okay, so user will carry a private keys, and that key has been kept it here, and we are reading this file with using the programmatically with using the Python, that is with using the open, pointing to this particular path of the file, reading it, opening it, reading it, and then reading with using this particular functions. So basically this variable contains a private key, and then we are creating a expire at. In the sense, it is a time where the cookies gets expired. Okay, so currently just getting the current time, adding an hour to that particular current time. In the sense, we are taking a 1 hour ahead of current time. Yeah, that becomes expire at. And then finally, we're gonna create certain things which is required to create or configure the cookies. Okay, so how are we doing? We're gonna just see it here. So first one, we are loading the private key with using the RSA module, that is private key and load pkcs1, and in this one we are using the private key values, and then the key is ready. Once the key is ready, create a signed function that can sign the message with using the private. In the sense, now we have a key, with using that key we're going to create a signer, that is RSA signer. And to do that, function tools partial, then we are calling the RSS sign in function. This is a private key. Method is SHA1. Yeah, once you have RSS signer, we're going to create a signer again, that is CloudFront signer. With you, the CloudFront signer is the function which is native from the module, that is CloudFront Boto core SDK for CloudFront signer, and where we are giving the CloudFront public key ID and the RSS signer is been passed. Once you have the signer, we're going to create a CloudFront policies with using that. To create a CloudFront policy, we need a policy here. We are using the signer build policy, CloudFront resource expires, and then encoding it to UTF-8. Then CloudFront policy is getting generated like signer.url base 64 encode policy, and this is UTF-8. Yeah. Finally, I'm just printing this policy because I need these values to access the content from the browser, because I'm going to hard code. In the sense, I'm going to manually copy these values and put it in a browser cookies and then try to access the content. That's the reason I'm just printing it here. Similarly, for CloudFront signature, right now CloudFront policy has been retrieved. This is CloudFront signature is retrieved in this same fashion, where the signature is being passed here now, right? All right, so finally, we gonna have the cookies format, and the cookies contains the parameter and keys and values. So cookie is a dictionary here, and it contains the key values. That this is the key, that is CloudFront policy, contains a CloudFront policy value. CloudFront signature, this is the CloudFront signature. CloudFront key pair ID, this is the CloudFront public key ID. Yeah. So with this is the cookies being framed now. Now we're gonna hit the request module, that is to get operation on this particular URL, and then cookies values have been passed here, and we're gonna see how does the this particular web content gonna respond us, in the sense what response does this request give us. Yeah. So I'm going to click on run this script. Here you go, it has given the response 200 because the last print is a response. Okay, so here if you see my screen properly, we're going to have the CloudFront policy. This is the CloudFront policy, and this is the signature we have. Yeah. And finally, once I hit the request, I'm gonna getting a 200 options, which is a good sign. Okay, but you might be surprised if I hit it from the browser. Why I'm getting this? Because I'm not passing the cookies here, but here I programmatically passed, so I got a 200 response. So now what we do is we're gonna access this particular content from the browser, but this time I'm gonna do a workaround, that is go to the more tools. Yeah. Go to the developer tools again, and here you see there is a cookies. Underneath the cookies, it's gonna hitting to this particular endpoint. So in this endpoint, it does not has any cookies. That's the reason it is throwing the error. Now we're gonna manually configure these cookies like we did it in a programmatic way, that is adding these key value pairs there. So first one is I'm gonna add the policy, that is CloudFront policy. The value of CloudFront policy is here, so I'm just gonna copy this. So I'm gonna copy this here, and then we're gonna use the another one, that is signature, that is CloudFront signature value inside the cookies. So give the values here, and then the value for signature is here, that is which I have just printed out. Okay, I'm just do a copy paste there, right? And then finally we have one more value underneath the cookies is CloudFront key pair ID. So I'm gonna add it here now. And the CloudFront key pair ID is nothing but the public ID, the public key ID, which is the value which we have kept it here, or you can get it from the CloudFront key managements, and just keep it here. So now with that, you have made your browser all set to access this particular CloudFront. Okay, if I hit it now, here you go, the page is now accessible. Okay. All right, so that's what we actually want. In the sense, I'm the authorized person now. Why I am authorized person? Because I have a private key through which I can generate a cookies and access the content. Okay, let's say if I don't have the access, you saw that it was throwing you need a key access error. Okay. All right, so with that note, I have successfully shown you the things need to be shown in this video from scratch to end. Okay, hope that it helps you. Finally, a kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. With that note, thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.